There's not one guy, one person in the history of this program that's bigger than the program.
What's better than this? Guys being dudes.
Oh, what's up and welcome into episode number 79 of the Program Guys podcast. My name is Mason Prince, joined you as always by Mark Hall, Matt Gann, no Ryan Tyson or Patrick Kurtzberger this week. Today is Friday, July 14th. I hated it when I said it. Be sure to like and subscribe on our YouTube channel. Folks, we hit 1,600 subscribers the other day. Thank you so much for being part of the program. If you are not subscribed to the channel right now, be like 1,600 other program guys and gals. Subscribe. Costs you $0. Help us out. Helps us out more than you know. You can follow us on Twitter, Program Guys with a Z, our Instagram, Program Guys with a Z, our Facebook page, Program Guys Podcast, on TikTok at Program Guys, on Threads, according to Patrick. You can follow us on Threads now, I guess.
At Program Guys.
At Program Guys. All those with a Z, folks. And yeah, boys, we have a small staff today, but some big news to get through. OU got done with Media Day earlier on Thursday, which is when we're recording this. Also a big commitment that we will get to in a second as well. But first, I want to start with Big 12 Media Days because a lot of news coming out of Big 12 Media Days. We heard from Brent Venables, Dylan Gabriel, Drake Stoops, Jonah Laulu, and Danny Stutzman. First off, want to get you guys' thoughts just overall before we dive into maybe some quotes. What do you guys got out of Big 12 Media Day?
Yeah, for me, just nothing really too exciting. I feel like the overall vibe and atmosphere is such a big shift from where it was last year because I felt like we had so much excitement of a new regime, new head coach coming in, more defensive minded, thought things were going to turn around in a year. And I think Sooner fans really felt like, hey, this is going to be a longer term process. And I think BV really considered and acknowledged a lot of mistakes and growing pains that they face in their first year going 6-7, which he knows is below the expectation of where OU football excellence should be. So I feel like the overall vibe of this year definitely different from last year, a lot more stoic, just a lot more kind of a calming demeanor because there's a lot of expectations that are going into this season with a lot of hype with the players coming in and obviously needing to do better than 6-7.
Yeah, Mark?
That was a big takeaway from me. I don't think we're going to get heavily into a lot of Brent Venables quotes today. So one thing that I do want to zero in on is the amount of praise he heaped on your favorite football player, Danny Stutzman. He didn't have a bad word to say. He said, and I quote, he's put the team and the expectations on his back. We're in a different place, and he certainly is at this point in time to where he was a year ago. This is about a guy who led the Big 12 with 126 tackles last year. That's big time. That he sees that maturation and leadership from a guy stepping up in the absence of David Igwebu and some of the other seniors who left last year, right? I think that that's really great to see. And obviously Danny was there today too. So there's some leadership that, Katana videos aside, has really started to take hold with him, and I'm glad to see it.
Brent Venables said the words that a lot of Sooner fans may want to hear. Danny Stutzman's a little more serious than he was 12 or 17 months ago, which is, wild to talk about when he's still making those Katana videos or whatever. But he's a more serious individual. He cares more about football. He seems to be turning into the player that we thought he could be. A lot of games still to be played. 12 games will make or break Danny Stutzman for a lot of people. So I guess we'll find out what happens when we get there. But like Brent said, I thought something that Brent said that really stuck out to me was competitive depth. And he said it a lot, not just at the podium. He said it on ESPN. He said it in radio interviews. He said it multiple times. It's one of those buzzwords or buzzwords plural that Brent brought to the table this week. And when you think about it, the first step in admitting the first step in solving any problem is admitting you have one. And I'm glad that he did it. We talked about this in our group text earlier today. A lot of coaches, first year coaches, wouldn't acknowledge what they did wrong, or in public at least. They just keep it indoors and move on. Brent has no problem facing the media and saying, look, we just flat out weren't deep enough. And he mentioned the decision-making that he made on some plays, and the critical thinking that needed to improve, and the defense in general. What he mentioned was, I believe, third down defense, and he had one more. Run defense was another one. Yeah. Run defense. So he knows where they need to improve, and that's great. Obviously, everybody else saw it, but the competitive depth stuck out to me, especially when you hear the numbers that he spouted off. 97 or 95 first or second year players on OU's roster out of 123. That's a lot. That's a ton of guys. And granted, those guys, some of those are transfers who is their first year at OU and they've been playing for 4 years or whatever, but it's their first or second year at OU. And you want to talk about turnover. That's a lot of roster turnover that people may not have realized about that program.
Yeah, it's one of the things the biggest things he mentioned was OU led the Big 12 in tackles for loss and interceptions, but yet we were giving up 30-plus points a game, and we had the worst rushing defense. Like you mentioned, we were giving up 4.2 yards a carry. Yeah. That's insane. You just can't have that happen where a team can run it down your throat, because obviously that opens up the passing game, which happened to us literally all year, especially the back half of the year, which he mentioned. We played really good the first 3 games, and then because of the depth and we just didn't have the horses, you saw that OU pretty much fell apart through the end of the season, even though we did keep games pretty close, but we didn't have that extra push to get over the hurdle to close out the fourth quarters. And I know he put a big emphasis on got to have closing out fourth quarters, because we were one of the worst teams during that time frame. So defense is going to have to definitely turn around if OU is going to have any shot of getting back to 10-game win seasons or winning the Big 12 to start off.
To Matt's point before you jump in, Mark, about the rush defense, Brent was quick to mention that they were terrible at rush defense, but he was also quick to mention what the top teams in the nation were. And it was 2.5 or something yards a carry.
2.4.
So he knows where they have to be. He's well aware of what the bar is for him. He's not looking at what's a top 10 defense. He's looking at what is a number 1, number 2 defense allowing average. And he knows. Go ahead, Mark.
I don't have a lot to add, except that for Brent Venables, that's the standard. That's what he came in preaching. And obviously we were all a little high on our own supply last year in thinking that it would just happen, right? That's not how it went, but you can see that he's still going to hold himself and the team to a standard of production and results that, like, 6 and 7 doesn't matter. The expectation is still you win the Big 12 and you go to the playoff. I'm not saying we should all have that expectation, but that's what he's instilling in himself and in these guys. And it's what he gets across with every single time you put a microphone in front of him. He's talking about how excellent they have to be and how they're not close yet. Mm-hmm. And it's awesome. It's awesome. He's demanding, and never in a negative way, but he knows what greatness looks like, and he's going to do everything he can to get it out of.
Yeah, and we just think about the roster turnover from last year to this year. I mean, just think about all the guys that are transferring in that are really going to give, hopefully, a big boost. Most of those guys we've talked about and mentioned coming on the defensive side of things. And there's a lot of ground to make up on the defensive side of the ball, starting with the rushing attack. If we're talking about giving up 2 less yards per carry, that starts up front. And we've gotten a lot of big boys in the transfer portal, like Jacob Lacey, Trace Ford, and those guys. And they're going to have big years, because that's the number one thing we got to stop first is the run.
Let us know down below in the comments. If you're watching on our YouTube channel, we read every single one of your comments. Comment down below what you took away from Big 12 Media Days on the OU side. What you heard from Brent Venables, Dylan Gabriel, and the rest of the squad. Anything that stuck out to you. You might be our commenter of the week. We got a commenter of the week that we're going to drop a little bit later to We'll round out the show a little bit. All right, some other Big 12 Media Day news. Mike Gundy is tired of being asked about Bedlam. He is tired of being asked about when they might play OU again, because according to Mike Gundy, they've done everything they can do. And OU is the one who decided to leave the Big 12. He's not wrong. He's not wrong about that. I'll give him credit. Brent Venables today at the microphone said he would love to keep playing Bedlam, but they don't ask him. So it's out of Brent Venables' hands as well. I think we all know that it's out of the coach's hands, but yeah, anybody on the whole Bedlam saga, because Mike Gundy seemed fed up being asked about it. And I don't know. I don't know how to explain this without being disrespectful, so I'm not gonna.
We're so not even thinking about Oklahoma State.
I know. Yeah.
That I don't have nearly as much to say about it as Mike Gundy did. But if you haven't seen the quote, go read it, man. It's very he's checked out. He's unhappy. I think he's pretty just like done with the situation. So that's my take on all of the Mike Gundy we got today.
Matt Gam?
Yeah, I think overall, as being born and raised in Norman myself, I mean, the thing that differentiates college football from any other sport really is the rivalries, and Oklahoma State being one of them. But also we have a big rivalry in Texas, and we're going together. But Oklahoma State and OU have been playing for over 100+ years. And so I think at some point they'll probably get back to it. It's just out of the coach's hand at this point. The logistics of making a non-conference schedule and including a Power 5 opponent like Oklahoma State or anyone else is very difficult to do, especially since you plan out your non-conference opponents for like 5 to 10 years in advance. So probably going to be quite a bit of time before we get OSU or Oklahoma State, on the schedule again, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's people who playing devil's advocate here. If they wanted to get it done, they could. Especially with OU losing Georgia on the schedule that they had scheduled for non-conference. And the SEC requires you to have a Power 5 non-conference game a season. So technically that could be OU's every year. I mean, that's what Georgia did with Georgia Tech. I mean, they're a Power 5. That's a non-conference locked up every single year for Georgia as well. So there's ways to do it. People are just being stubborn and butthurt right now. I think that's the best way to say it. That's all I have for Bedlam, because I want to get to some comments from Brett Yormark if anybody has an objection. Okay, so Brett Yormark, new commissioner of the Big 12. He's been in the job for a year now. I got this tweet from Brett McMurphy. This was on Wednesday, first day of Big 12 Media Days. Big 12's Brett Yormark asked about OU and Texas, quote, carrying the conference in recruiting. This is what Yormark had to say. Quote, I don't think they've carried the conference in recruiting. They haven't been in our championship game the past few years. End quote. I mean, what are we doing? I understand you got to sell the Big 12. I understand that you have a conference that you have to tell buyers is going to be relevant next year. Like, I get it. But listen to the stats. Like, what are you talking about? Oklahoma has 14 Big 12 championships. The active remaining members of the Big 12 combined for 11. The next closest is 3 to Oklahoma.
It will take 12 years at best for that record to be broken. And he's talking like we haven't run the place.
And they're all after the year 2000, guys. They're all after the year 2000. Like, what are we doing? Who are you trying to fool? OU has top 10 recruiting classes when's the last time an OU or Texas led the Big 12 in recruiting? Genuinely, in the comments, I'm asking. Let me know if you've done the research.
Haven't led the Big 12 in recruiting?
Yes, correct. When's the last time that OU or Texas haven't led the Big 12 in recruiting.
It's never happened.
It's
Surely,
just
right.
It's insane. And that's not the other shot that was fired. His assistant, whatever you want to call it, commissioner, executive commissioner. I think that's what he's called.
It's deputy commissioner.
Deputy commissioner. Thank you. He was being
Love
interviewed.
A good deputy.
He was being interviewed in a radio show and said that, I guess OU and Texas wanted to lose to Georgia instead of losing to Kansas State, or they want to lose to Alabama instead of losing to Iowa State. Like, fam, what are these
Damn
shots?
right.
What are these shots coming out of left field? I thought everybody was all good. Joe C showed up to Arlington, shaking hands with Yormark, being all nice and stuff. BV got up to the podium and had nothing but nice things to say about Yormark and the direction of the Big 12, even though he didn't have to. He had no reason to do that other than just being a great guy. Guys, it fired me up. I don't know if you can tell.
Flip it.
I just don't. It's crazy to me how I just don't understand. Do they think people are stupid? Do they genuinely think that people are just going to see them say, oh, well, they haven't won a conference championship game or played in it in 2 years. And, well, they've lost to Kansas State and Iowa State. So like, they're not really even that good.
Which is such a backhanded thing because you're talking about your own teams there.
Yes.
So I think what we're seeing with this, and you can put this in all kinds of walks of life, right? If someone in a position of power says something and his people want to hear it, like Baylor will want to hear that, TCU will want to hear that, Cincinnati will want to hear that, on down the line, right? I promise you, my TCU coworkers are eating that shit up.
Yeah.
They're about it. They love it. They love that Yormark is talking a little bit of mess, is talking down a little bit. They love that Deputy Commish is, oh yeah, I guess they just want to lose to Alabama instead of us. Like, that's the kind of really going for it online Big 12 thing we have going now. And that's great. Good for them. When they see viewership plummet after Oklahoma and Texas enter the fray, and on down the line, recruiting plummet as a result.
Yes.
I think in 10 years they'll understand. Right now they have to be a little aggressive about it. But this isn't real. Good for Brett, good for the Dep. They need their day, right? This is their day.
For sure. Matt,
what you got, King?
No, just when you lose two blue blood programs such as OU and Texas, which the amount of TV ad media deals that OU and Texas brings to the Big 12 year in and year out. I mean, what else are you going to do but take shots? Because you're losing a lot of, like you said, viewership, money at the end of the day, which is really what this is all about, right? Why did OU and Texas move? The underlying reasons, it's all about money at the end of the day. And who doesn't want to see OU and Texas play Alabama, Georgia? That's just going to bring more eyes to those games. No one's going to want to watch Baylor go up to Iowa State in Ames, right? It's just not going to be the premier games of the week. So he's doing everything he can to keep the Big 12 afloat. I wouldn't want that position. I couldn't imagine. I mean, definitely a good move bringing the 4 teams in, but the relevancy of Big 12, I mean, out of all the big major conferences, got to be the 5th or 6th best at this point, behind the ACC, Pac-12, when it comes to all that. Go ahead, Mark.
I think we're going to land with them being like 3 or 4. Because I think the Pac-12 plummets when they lose USC and UCLA.
Right. Yeah. For sure.
Obviously, the Big 12 loses something by losing the 2 teams. But, I mean, the ACC isn't anything special. You know that Clemson and Miami and UNC are next, right?
Yep.
If we have another round, those teams are getting poached too.
Yep.
And Oregon's getting poached, right?
Yep.
Who's coming for these Big 12 teams?
They extended Greg Sankey to 2031.
Daddy,
I want to say. Yeah. He got an extension.
I thought it was 28.
28. Okay. Thank you for checking me that. But back to the recruiting point that you made, Mark, and this is the last point I have, and then we can move on. So Mark made the point about your recruiting will suffer. Just think about this. Texas fans give OU fans all sorts of hell because they get a lot of their great recruits from the state of Texas. And you're right. You're not wrong about that. OU recruits Texas very well. So think about this. If you're the Big 12, you're going to have Texas A&M, who recruits the hell out of the state. You're going to have Texas, who recruits the hell out of the state. And you're going to have Oklahoma, who recruits the hell out of the state, all telling those in-state Texas kids, you don't have to leave home and you get to play in the SEC. You don't think that's going to have an effect on TCU and Baylor and Texas Tech? They're in Houston. They're going to start bitching like next year. They're going to be real mad when they see, oh, we can't pitch that we play OU in Texas. Yeah, that definitely hurts us. That definitely hurts our recruiting.
One thing that was mentioned by Yormark or the Dep sometime today, I'm not really sure, is that they are looking at introducing Thursday and Friday night games to the schedule.
Give me a break.
Because there's openings on those days, right? You know everyone in the Big 12 trying to recruit Texas high school football players. No coach is happy that you have your game on a Friday. You're not getting those players to your games. There's no way. There is no way. You work around their schedule, not the other way around. And Brett Yormark has this whole grand plan of, oh, we're going to increase our exposure. We're going to go to Mexico. We're in 3 time zones. We have all these things. We're going to play on Thursdays and Fridays and all these things. Dog, it's not going to increase the talent, which means it's not going to increase the product, which means you're not going to get that. You're going to make the playoffs because everyone does, but you're not going to have a run. And it's going to fall by the wayside next to the SEC and the Big Ten.
Yeah. Matt, anything else to add before we move on to some recruiting news? Okay, folks, big time recruiting week for OU since the last time we recorded a show. That's the week I'm talking about. So last Saturday, me and Mark hopped on, dropped an EPC for the people. Devon Mitchell, 5-star tight end, now a 4-star because he's a 2024 commit, but 5-star in our heart.
Haters.
I like whoever put that. 6'5", 245, Los Alamitos high. We're not going to go deep into Devon because you can go back and watch our EPC that we broke down, but I do want to get Matt's take about Devon because he wasn't able to be on the EPC.
Absolutely massive. I mean, I feel like you guys all made great points, but this commitment is huge, especially for a tight end room that just hasn't been all that since really Mark Andrews. I mean, it's glad to have Austin Stonger back.
Point.
That's great.
Fair point.
But guys like Mark Andrews don't come around that often, and Devon Mitchell is that guy. Like, he is absolutely ready day one to come in and really make a huge impact, a huge get, especially a California kid, which, hey, we have quite a few California Sooners over the past year, so we just keep recruiting. Very good there. But this is a huge get for a guy that is a prototypical college tight end. So
perfect. Mark, anything else? We've had some days to do. Great. So the massive news coming out on Thursday evening, I guess you can call it, from Indianapolis, Indiana, Jayden Jackson, 6'1". I saw 300 pounds, so that's what I'm going to call him. 6'1", 300-pound nose tackle, defensive tackle. He was choosing between Oklahoma, Texas, Miami,
Ohio State,
and
someone else.
And one more. He chose Oklahoma live on 247 with his mom in attendance. We saw crystal balls come. We saw crystal balls come out for the kid all week, just kind of rolling in, and it really started getting momentum, guys. Don't you think around Wednesday afternoon, yes. Right?
It felt fake before that.
Yeah, right. So He's an IMG player, plays with David Stone. David Stone has a lot of good things to say about him, saying that he's the best nose tackle in the country. If you know ball, that's according to David, not me. He's a massive player, Polynesian guy, long hair, looks like Troy Polamalu. I'm excited. Todd Bates, the devil works hard. Todd Bates works harder, man. I mean, he continues to do his job almost better than anyone else in the country. I open the floor.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mark.
No, you go.
Yeah, I'm just going to call this guy Jayden Action Jackson because this is the absolute guy that we need to really fill what BV is looking for in the trenches on the defensive line. Obviously, we've got some good additions, and we'll talk about some of the weight that a lot of the guys have put on since the spring. But this is a guy that is ready to go to really clog up those running lanes, and a guy that BV is looking for. If you think of like the Dexter McLaurinces and the guys that have come in the past, they're big, they're physical, they can move, and they can clog it up on the offensive line. This guy is it. And I think this is really the domino piece to fall, because this is the guy that a lot of people like David Stone and a lot of these guys have connections to. So the 24 class is heating up, especially after Wyatt Gilmore committed. Now we have this guy. Look out for the Sooners recruiting in the next few weeks. I think there's a lot of big names. I have a list of guys that are coming up. This could be massive for OU.
You're right.
Timeline time.
Oh,
not going to go too deep.
Yes.
June 20th. Jayden Jackson takes his official visit to Oklahoma. Has a blast, apparently. June 23rd. He takes an official visit to the University of Texas. His last official visit. He was linked to Texas throughout the process. Heavy NIL focus on his recruitment. I don't know where Oklahoma stands with that. I bet we came up to the plate. You know, that doesn't just flip in the last minute. A kid's motivations don't just flip late in the game like that, right? July 13th, about 3 weeks later, today, commits to the Oklahoma Sooners. That's closing.
Yeah.
That's freaking closing. That's recruiting right there. A little bit about Jayden. Matt did a great job talking about him, but 6'1", 300, enough of a frame to put on another 20 pounds or so. If
That's
he really
exactly
wants
what I was
to.
going to say. Yeah.
You know, you said Troy Polamalu. I'm thinking Vita Vea. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, space eating. And I know why you say Troy. You're not wrong for that. I just, it just popped it in my head, right?
Correct.
We're going to see that hair popping out of a helmet of a gigantic man pushing two dudes back and holding people to less than 4.2 yards per carry. Right. That's rush defense. It's right now we're having to make it work with 4 down linemen and squeezing small dudes inside like Jonah Ulu, who I'm high on, but you know what I mean. This is the future for the defense, and couldn't be more excited about it. One little fun tidbit: David Stone visited OU. I think it was an unofficial on his official visit, on Jayden Jackson's official visit. There was a picture that got out of the two of them with Todd Bates.
Okay.
If you think the David Stone recruitment is in the air, my guys, why would he do that? Why would he attend that official visit? I may be putting a crystal ball in for David here pretty soon.
Folks. Mark is 100% on his crystal balls, folks. That's big news. Matt, crystal ball alert. All right, that works. Yeah. We can.
You got to remember it though.
Yeah,
I got you. Don't worry.
You got to remember it.
I got it recorded, so don't worry.
Yeah,
go back to it.
It's locked down
locked
now. In. What's this graphic? This power line graphic that we got up.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Wyatt Gilmore posted it.
Yeah, posted it first with him, and now Jayden Jackson photoshopped himself into it, and there's still room for more, baby, on that line.
That's the thing. I don't think it's Photoshop. I think it's a photo they took and then blacked all the people out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I thought it was just like a fun little thing for Wyatt Gilmore to post, and now like maybe there's 6 more dudes coming. That'd be
amazing. Sick. That'd be pretty sick.
And when you start doing the numbers, man, David Stone, Williams Nwaneri, Nigel Smith, there's more, and I was ready to do them all.
I know you were right there. Let us know down below in the comments. Finish Mark's thought for him. Okay.
And then 2 more.
You love it. Finish Mark's.
2 more.
Finish
the problem
Mark's
is one of them's Joseph Jonah Ajanye. You know he didn't like hop out of the picture.
Yeah.
Like you know he's one of them.
Yeah, for sure. But guys, just a massive, what is that? 5 days, 6 days, 5 or 6 days for Brent Venables and company. and with a chance now moving to the crystal balls to get a lot more. Some predictions in from recruiting experts. Eugene Brooks, 3 or 4-star offensive lineman, depending on who you're looking at. He's a 2024 prospect, 6'4", 325. Please, I need it. Bill Bedenbow is working. There's crystal balls out there for Eugene Brooks. I think they get him. I really do. These seem to, at least a commitment. You know what I mean? Like, who knows what happens on signing day, but that's what I got.
I something that we haven't discussed too much is the total lack of success we're having with the offensive line recruiting. We're losing guys left and right. We lost Casey Poe. We just lost the kid to freaking Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? What is that?
I don't know what that is.
So it hasn't been good for several reasons. Bedenbow seemed to turn off the Caden Massey kid that we were apparently doing really well with, right? Just several reasons. It's nice to see, even though we're on tier B, tier C for what he really wants to be bringing in, at least they're big bodies.
Yeah.
And if there's something there to be molded, he's the guy that's going to be able to mold them. I have no doubt about that. Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, we just haven't seen it's been a lot of defensive players for the most part. I know another crystal ball actually came out a few hours back for the 2024 wide receiver, Zayon Regans. He's 5'9", 170. His commitment is the 18th. So
is
that's
he the
next
Jones?
Week.
Is he the Georgia kid, the Jones County, Georgia kid?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
So that's another crystal ball that came out just recently. So that would be another big addition for Emmett Jones. Wish he was a little bit taller. Wish he was a little bit bigger, just like the guy previously. But hey, we're going to take what we can get to add to this class to continue to add that competitive depth that BV talks about. But yeah, offensive line's been the one place we just haven't added too much. So the Brooks guy would be a pretty nice addition for offensive line that we just don't have a lot of depth right now, or at least in the recruiting area.
Caden Durham is choosing August 25th. That is a long time. OU will not have played a game by then. I thought there it is. So Terry Bussey tweeted
That's
like a
one.
DNA emoji. And then Caden Durham tweeted back at him a home emoji. That was 7 hours ago, so around noon Central Time. And then Caden Durham responded back 5 hours ago. So you're looking at around 2 o'clock Central Time, 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock Central Time.
My favorite thing we do is analyze tweets.
I hate that I'm this person. I really do. I never thought
you did a good job though.
Yeah, I know, right?
For
worst.
Prosperity's sake, for all of our sakes. Devon Mitchell also quote tweeted it, and I saw that too.
I think that's how I saw it.
Yeah. Hey man, if you can get Terry Bussey in here on top of the guys that we've already spoken about, I mean, suddenly this is a better class than last year. And we were thinking this would not be that way. I mean, knock on wood, right?
Yeah.
No one knows, but it feels like the momentum is good.
Yeah. Shout out to program guy Connor Borland, who I always feel like we text each other how sick of caring about what kids tweet or recruits and stuff, because it just feels icky. It just doesn't feel fun. But like, I do care. Like, I'm not going to tweet at them that I'm mad at them that they aren't going to OU, but like, I hate that I'm one of those people who's like, oh, Caden Durham just tweeted. What did he tweet? Let's analyze this, but like, I am.
Yeah.
I'm that person. I like to think I'm not, but I am.
We're so invested in children, man. We're just wildly invested.
Oh my gosh. Another child we're invested in. Defensive lineman Williams Nwaneri is the new number one prospect in the updated 2024 on 300. David Stone ranks 13th in the on 300. Those are two, once again, massive targets and could be massive gets. Mark's close to a crystal ball for David Stone. He's close. Let us know down below in the comments if you think Mark should put out that crystal ball. Tell him. Remember, folks.
Should I drop my ball?
Remember, folks, Mark put out his crystal ball for Devon Mitchell last Friday, and Saturday, the kid committed to OU. Mark's on a heater.
Correlation.
When my
I think.
balls drop, things happen.
Put her on a shirt.
That's what I know.
Put her on a t-shirt. All right. Anything to add with Williams, Nwaneri, or David Stone, guys, before we move on?
Nah, just excited for the possibility, man.
Perfect. I put this in here because I wanted to talk about it. Some OU guys who put on some weight, and of course I turned my Wi-Fi off on my iPad so it won't open. But here's some numbers I just wanted to You want me
to run them?
Yes, please. Yes.
Yeah, awesome. So this is a tweet from George Stoya. He is a reporter for On3. Good guy. I knew him in college. Good guy. His tweet goes, Sooners 2023 roster is updated, and I noticed a few impressive weight changes. Jonah Laulu, 277 to 292. That's a 15-pound weight gain as he moves inside. You love to see that. Grayson Halton, 271 to 287. Another big guy putting on weight. Tyler Guyton, 316 to 327. Jaden Rowe, 212 to 224. Marcus Stripling, 234 to 250. Mason, who stands out to you the most?
Guyton, probably.
Cool.
Just because it's hard for those bigger guys who are already over 300 to add more. And for him to add, what was it? Like
11 pounds.
11. Yeah. I thought I was about to say 12. That's impressive, man. That's good stuff. Messing with Schmitty in the summertime, those weights that Mark rattled off and George rattled off, credit where credit's due to George for doing the research. That was from spring. So from spring
to now.
Yeah. And you said that. I just wanted to, I think I just wanted to clarify one.
I'm not sure if I did, but I'm glad that you said it.
Yeah.
Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, thank you both. I'm going to go with Jonah because he's making the transition from defensive end to defensive line. So this is what you wanted to see. He had to gain more weight if he's going to play down there in the trenches and be able to play that position. So I'm glad with Smitty and what an offseason can do for you, a full year in the weight room can make a massive difference. And having Jonah down in Big 12 Media Day in Arlington this week, I think really shows the type of player he is, just transferring in last year, making the transition. I think there was a tweet from him that said if they told him to play punter, he would, or whatever position. Long snapper, right.
Yeah.
It just shows the dedication that the team has to listen to BV and that whatever that he says, they trust in fully. So really excited to see his transition to the defensive line spot because we got a lot of guys that are going to be rotating that line.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, man. I hit on Jonah a little bit. The one that really has me excited is Jaden Rowe. Jaden Rowe is a freak athlete. Mm-hmm. He might be the fastest guy on the team. And to think he also put on 12 pounds, and that's probably all muscle.
Oh, 100%.
Right? He's just been eating, and working out.
Mm-hmm.
That dude, maybe it never comes together on the football field, but he's a physical freak. Yeah. And I would love to see him get some snaps here going into his second season at OU.
Let us know down below in the comments what you thought of those numbers. Any other numbers that stick out to you in terms of weight fluctuations for the guys from spring to now. Speaking of comments, guys, our commenter of the week this week comes to us from Twitter. Our friend and program guy, Zachary Zerger. I hope I'm saying your name right, Zach. I apologize if I screwed up the pronunciation. He had a good question for us on Twitter. This is just a reminder, folks. If you tweet at any of us, our Twitter handles are on the YouTube videos, and you can tweet us at Program Guys with a Z. We see all those, try to respond to every single one of them. Zach said this: is the 2023 OU team going to be the 2000 team reincarnated? If you look at that team, there was a whole bunch of no names on that team that ended that season being studs. I see a lot of similarities with this team. Thank you, Zach, for the comment, and I'll open it up for a discussion. What do you guys think? Matt, we'll start with you. See any similarities with the 2000 team? Did I freeze?
Oh, you're good. No, one of the major similarities is that it was Bob's second year head coach. The first year did pretty similar to what BB did in his first year, and then really turned it around. Obviously won a national or an Orange Bowl national championship in 2000. the thing is like 20 years, it's such a different era of college football. Back then it was all about defense and keeping your opponent under 20 points. Now it's like keeping them under 30, 35 points. So definitely a different era of college football that we're playing in. It's a lot more offensive minded, but I do see a lot of similarities in the coaching history that we've seen, and obviously making a huge turnaround on the defensive end, which is BV specialty. So I hope that we see a huge turnaround like we saw in the early 2000s. I'm going to lower my expectation just a little bit, not take it that far.
I'm along the same lines. This is fun, but I can't get there just yet. I need to see this team on the field. I need to see. I believe that we're going to have the step on defense that it would take to get to, a Big 12 championship, and that's what I'll say there. That's where I'll just leave it. Offense, I know that we've got a lot of stars, right? That's cool, but we're losing 2 NFL draft picks on the offensive line. We're losing Eric Gray, who's an NFL player. We're losing Marvin Mims, who's an NFL player. We're losing Braden Willis, who's an NFL player. All of those guys were the key cogs in the offense, plus like Drake Stoops, right? A lot of turnover on offense. I need to see more from that unit before I can get close to saying this is the same thing.
Fair enough. I'm looking at the 2000 OU roster right now. You mentioned the offensive line, Mark, and this team did lose some pieces on the offensive line. That offensive line in 2000 didn't have an NFL draft pick, and that's a national title offensive line. Like, now, to Matt's credit, Matt said it is a different era of football, and I completely agree with that. I understand, but you look at the defensive line, not a draft pick either. 2 draft picks. Rocky Calmus, Torrance Marshall in the linebacker group. So Danny Stutzman is a guy that you're going to lean on. You know that you're going to have to rely on Danny to be good. Maybe he fills that Rocky Calmus role that Rocky did. Now, credit where it's due. Rocky Calmus was an All-American. Rocky Calmus, won a Bedlam Award. He was built different. The definition of built
Bernanke Award.
Yeah, Bernanke Award, exactly. And then you had Roy Williams in the secondary. That's a Billy Bowman. That's a sophomore Roy Williams. That's a young Billy Bowman. There are similarities, and I get Zach's point about there not being a lot of big names. Like, your biggest name that will carry nationwide is your quarterback Dylan Gabriel, and there's an argument to be made. He's not the best player on your team. So,
Of course not.
And neither was Josh Heupel. You know what I mean? So there's similarities. I think there is for sure. Look, you get to the end of the year, I'm not going to bitch if they're in a national title game where they shouldn't be in. I'm not going to complain. No way.
No, of course not.
But that,
I'm just also not going to talk myself into something if I don't believe it.
Yes, but you also have to remember that 2000 team, and going on the run they did in Red October, and the Big 12 was a completely different conference at that time as well. Nebraska was scary. Kansas State was really good. Texas was still a national contender. Like, that was a tough time in Red October back then in 2000. But yeah, I get Zach's point. And Zach, I appreciate you tweeting us and letting us know what your thoughts. That was a fun little discussion we had there. Any other points to be made before I cut anybody off? Uh-oh.
Yeah, I mean, since we're doing it, Quan Bolden made it to the NFL. Chris Winkie had a cup of coffee in the NFL, I think, from the Florida State team that Oklahoma beat that year, right? You look on defense, and I know a handful of these guys did, but you look at football now and the concentration of great talent now, everyone from Georgia's defense will be in the NFL. Everyone from Alabama's offense will be in the NFL. That's a given. Mm-hmm. So part of my calculus is just thinking there's a lot more to overcome than there was in 2000 against Florida State. But you're right to point out if it happens, we're going to look back at this, right? Mm-hmm. Because the broad strokes are there.
Mm-hmm. Matt, anything before we move on?
Nope.
All right, let's circle the wagons, Matt.
I got nothing for you. Not a whole lot going on other than OU softball getting robbed at the
That was
ESPYs last
nonsense.
night over the best team in the league or world sports world. They gave it to the Kansas City Chiefs for winning the Super Bowl. I don't believe that. OU softball has been just absolutely dominant in their season, breaking absolute all the records, having probably the best winning season in college softball. So I thought that was probably the biggest snub that I've seen in ESPYs. But who really watches it? I really don't know. Mason, was there anything else I was missing? I didn't have too much.
Patty Gasso had a boomer tweet today.
Yeah, I did see that too, but
I don't
not
know
sure
what
who
it's
they're
about
referring
though.
to.
Yeah. I thought you were our insider. You'd let us know, but
Yeah, I'm seeing Kern from where is she from? I'll double check, but I think they're leaning to
Indiana.
a girl named Indiana. Yeah. So I think we've talked about that before, but we'll just have to see because she's had a couple of the drops recently. Not sure if they were towards the assistant coach, but that other one confirms that there's still some more work to do in the transfer portal. So
gotcha.
Trying a little bit to add assistant coach Jen Rocha, I'm not really sure how to say it,
Yep.
won a National Assistant Coach of the Year award for softball. That's big, man. Somehow Patty Gasso can't win awards, but at least someone is shown, the freaking accolades that team deserves, right? And then in other OU softball news, Jocelyn Erickson transferred out. She picked Florida. And I think we talked about Peyton Monticelli. Did we talk about Riley Ludlam?
I don't think
She's
so.
I don't think so.
Catcher coming in from Furman. I didn't see it until today, but coming in from Furman, hit 372 with 10 home runs last year. That's someone, right? You lose a catcher, you get a catcher. So that's pretty cool to see. I don't have anything else past that though.
Perfect. Yeah, I don't really think I have anything else either for that. Are you guys ready to move on to our PGP MVP of the week?
Let's do it.
Okay, Matt, start us off, man.
Yeah, it's just a slow week in college football or just really in reality with not a lot of sports going on. So I'll just give it to my boy Schmitty for the work that he's been putting in the off season, getting these guys ready to go. You love to see the weight discrepancies from what they were in spring to now. Just shows the big reason why BV wanted this guy in the program to instill that. I'll give it to Coach Schmitty for the work that he's been putting in.
Love it. Mark, who's your MVP?
My MVP, man, you know me. It's Todd Bates. I can't say enough about the job that he has done coming off of a 6-7 season where, frankly, none of the defensive line looked as good as they should have been. We have added 6 men since then to the team. That's Jacob Lacey. That's Devon Sears out of Texas State. That's DeJohn Terry out of Tennessee. That's Phil Paya out of Utah State. That's freshman Ashton Sanders and Marcus Strong. And then today we see Jayden Jackson coming in. The guy, and he's had an impact on the defensive ends that Miguel Chavis is recruiting as well. It took a year. I mean, kind of, because we did get Ashton Sanders and Marcus Strong in, right? But the guy knows what he's doing, and all it took was a year. A year of 6-7 football, and we are looking at possibly bringing in Williams Nwaneri, number one player in the country, number 13, David Stone. That's a lock. I'm not putting it out just yet, but that's a deadbolt that's almost shut, baby. I'm feeling it, right? And then between him, David Stone, and MVP Todd Bates, today we get Jayden Jackson. And there's more on the way. That's an MVP like performance. That's what makes the program great. That's my MVP, Todd Bates.
Love it. Little MVP for me is going to be Brittany Mahomes. Brittany Mahomes, wife of Patrick Mahomes, is well known for being quite insufferable when you see her on social media. She's not very fun to watch, especially when she's doing dances with Patrick's little brother, Jackson. Jackson has his own baggage, but the new quarterback show
he does these days.
Yeah. The new show Quarterback was released on Netflix on Wednesday. follows in detail Patrick Mahomes, Marcus Mariota, and Kirk Cousins for the 2022 season. You get a really deep insight into Patrick Mahomes' home life. And let me tell you, Brittany Mahomes is quite tolerable when she's not attached at the hip to Patrick's crazy brother. Let me tell you. And like, I don't think anyone in that show has repaired their image as well as she did. Like, Marcus Mariota comes off as such a likable guy, and Kirk Cousins, people have given this guy hell. And Kirk Cousins is just a dude who wants to be a dad and just be good at football. He's not a jerk. He's not a dick. Like, he's just a dude who's got a lot of money and doesn't really care. We were watching the show and my wife goes, he doesn't even look like he's rich. Like, his home doesn't even look super nice. Like, he lives quite modestly. His wife dresses him on Sundays. It's hysterical. But Brittany Mahomes is my MVP just because she comes out looking the best in that show, because she does not look as psychotic as she normally does. So, like, credit to her.
Great MVP. Solid.
Thank you.
Way to wrap a show, baby.
I didn't know if you guys wanted to talk.
Personally,
I feel like she does too.
And I haven't watched the show. I just think, like, what do you want the wife of Patrick Mahomes to do? Right? Yeah. It's not her fault the brother's a freaking TikTok star and she's sitting next to him.
Yeah.
What can she do? So she probably sucks, but like not nearly as bad as they make it seem.
No, and they have a cute story, man. They were best friends in like middle school, and like Mahomes was in the friend zone and like won her over in high school, and they dated all through high school and got married, dated through Texas Tech. And
crazy how turning out to be a superstar athlete helps you win a girl over.
Crazy, right? I know, it's nuts. Yeah, it's nuts. But yeah, and Patrick Mahomes didn't start playing football till his junior year of high school. That's nuts. That's insane.
Crazy.
That's freaking crazy.
He could have been Randy Johnson, man.
I know. But watch the show if you haven't. It's quite intriguing. You get some cool insight into Marcus Mariota's NFL journey as well. It was really
I don't need it. Quitter.
I do. I was gonna get that
freaking quitter. Desmond Ridder sat like a champion, soaked it up like a sponge. He was as good to Marcus as he possibly could have been. Arthur Smith makes the change at the end of the year, wants to get the young kids some run, and he walks out on an injury that wasn't reported until he left. Get out of here, quitter.
I love it. That's going to do it for this week's episode. Please like and subscribe on our YouTube channel. Folks, I meant to say this at the beginning of the show. I doubt you're still here, but if you are, we are trying to hit 2,000 subscribers. We are trying to hit 2,000 subs by the start of the 2023 football season. Help us out. We're 400 away. Share this episode with 5 of your friends.
That's the thing.
Share the episode with 5 of your friends. Let them know that you're a program guy or gal. Tell them to be a part of the program. You can follow us on Twitter, Program Guys with the Z, our Instagram, Program Guys with the Z, our Facebook page, Program Guys Podcast. We're on TikTok on Program Guys. We're on Threads on Program Guys. You can find us all those places. I lost my train of thought. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all that good stuff. Folks, we will see you next week, hopefully with a full cast. And we'll have some fun with you next week. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week. Matt, take us out.
Keep pushing it, baby.